Hello and welcome to RICtual. This is Rituals for Instinctive Intelligence. My name is Victoria. I'm your host. I am a coach, a creator, and the founder of the Rapid Instinct Code that I call RIC, R-I-C. After 20 years in brand strategy, marketing, AI, and transformational coaching, I now blend everything that I know about marketing, about conation, about energetics, about the subconscious mind to unlock your code to greatness and discover your unique magic. This is where we're going to decode our instinct intelligence. That's the part of us that's always known the way, that part of us that maybe we haven't been able to put a voice to, and make the intangible tangible. We are going to look through the lenses of conation and energetics and the subconscious mind with a blend of science, soul, and strategy so that we can live more authentic, fuller lives and discover how we're meant to live, lead, and create in full alignment with our deepest designs. It's time that we all trust our internal wiring, honor our own rhythm, and ignite the instincts that set us apart. This episode, I'm going to dig into the three pillars of the RIC. They are based in a lot of research, and especially this first pillar. And so I'm going to share my screen and we'll get started. Okay, so hopefully you can see my screen. This is going to be where we talk about the first pillar of the three pillars of the RIC. So this episode, I'm going to actually post, and then there'll be two more that will fill out the three pillars of the RIC. We are going to look at pillar 1 today. And pillar 1 is based on conation. And if you haven't heard that word, that's okay. Conation is a word that's been around for a very long time and studied very deeply over the last 50 years by a woman named Kathy Kolbe, who you see on screen. She's the founder and the theorist of Kolbe Corp. She discovered that we all have a natural method of operation. We all have a natural mode of problem solving. And she studied children for a very long time to see how they approach play and problem solving. And she created what's known as the Kolbe A index that you can take online. The RIC does encourage you to take the Kolbe A so that we know your actual 4 numbers. If you do not have the means to pay for the Kolbe A, it does guide you through a few questions, which we're going to go through today on this podcast. But as always, it's going to be more accurate if you have your 4 numbers from the Kolbe A index. The reason I like Kolbe A is that A, you're born with it. It doesn't change. This is our natural instinct. It's unbiased and results-based. It's positive and predictable. This is the only part of the brain that we actually can see predictive success with. This is not our, values or what we like or what we prefer. This is actually what we need in order to thrive and strive in our zone of genius. It's valid and reliable. It's been studied by third parties. There's a lot of different studies on their website, so I encourage you, if you are somebody who likes to research and likes to look into that kind of thing, to please visit their website. Kathy Kolbe has a quote that is, "Success is the freedom to be yourself." And I was at a mastermind at her house last year, and I told her that I disagree with her assessment that Kolbe alone will give you the freedom that you're looking for. I believe that true freedom needs to integrate all levels from conation to energetics to our subconscious mind. And we had a conversation about that theory, and I'm going to share that with you because I think it's important. As I was sharing with her in this small group, we were talking about, coaching executives, and that oftentimes, even when executives get their four numbers and understand their conation, it doesn't always set them free. There's a lot of trauma or limiting beliefs or judgments that come along with it. There's people that are not aligned with their intuition, and that stifles their ability to be in their zone of genius. And I started to draw out a triangle, kind of like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I was trying to explain this to Kathy. And she kind of jokingly said, I hate Maslow, and what you're looking for is a Venn diagram. And she looked at me and smiled and said, you should pursue this. And during that mastermind, she was really clear to say, I'm still theorizing on this. And I want my students to take it to a bigger direction than I could. And giving me that green light was what I needed to really create the RIC for you. And I'm really honored to have had that conversation, to have met Kathy Kolbe, because she passed away this last May. And a part of me believes that she sort of passed the torch, right, to this next generation, the generation that could use AI technology and deeper integration with different systems to bring people to freedom. And we both share that same mission. We want people to be free to be themselves. And this presentation is going to be really that pillar that was based on Kathy Kolbe's work that I integrated into the first pillar of RIC. So the Venn diagram for your rapid instinct code starts with conation. Conation, we're going to get into. This is what was studied by Kathy Kolbe. The second part is our energetics. This is our human design. This is based on our birth date, time, and location. It gives us specific strategies of how to lower energetic barriers, how to create more synergy in our lives, how to approach life and our goals and our dreams and our manifestations in particular ways, and how our purpose on this planet can be fulfilled. The next part is the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind rules 95% of our day, and all of our behaviors, instinct and otherwise, live in that subconscious mind. And if we're unaware of the beliefs or the perceptions that are holding us back from leaning into our conation or into our energetics, it can create self-sabotage, and it can create shame and blame and guilt. And so it's a really important factor when I'm looking at how can we make the unconscious conscious? How can we make the unconscious patterns of conation or energetics conscious to your conscious mind, right? These three elements come together into the conscious mind. When you're using this GPT, you are in your conscious mind. You are learning, you are adapting, you are engaging, you are gaining the wisdom that this unconscious system has. And to me, that is true freedom. Where all of these things intersect is freedom. So we're going to take a look at conation. Conation is not what you can or can't do. It's what you will or won't do naturally. So again, we have three parts of the mind. We have the thinking, the feeling, and the doing. The thinking is our IQ, it's our skills, it's our reason, knowledge, experience, and education. This is anything that you would put onto a resume. We have our feeling or our affective part of the brain, and this is our desires, our motivations, our attitude, our preferences, our emotions, our values. And then we have the doing part of the brain. This is our drive, our striving instincts, our necessity, our mental energy, our innate force and strengths, talents, and purposeful action. When it comes to conation and Kathy Kolbe's work, she found that there are four modes of operation. The first mode is fact finder. The second is follow through. The third is quick start. And the fourth is implementer. And within each of these modes of action, we have three different zones, which we're going to get into in a bit. But basically, we have a scale from specify to simplify in fact finder. Fact finder is how we gather and share information. We have systematize to adapt in the way that we organize and design systems. We have innovate to stabilize in the way we deal with risk and uncertainty. We have demonstrate to envision in the way that we handle 3D space and tangibles. And so we're going to go through this, but basically why I really love Kathy's work is that it doesn't matter what zone you're in each one of these four categories. They all have a gift and a strength. And when you can align with that, you can not only create better communication and team synergy, but you can also position yourself in your strengths and say no to the things that drain you and yes to the things that energize you. So when we're looking at the zone of genius, right? Again, we have that top layer there, that fact finder, follow through, quick start, implementer. That top layer is simplify. In the fact finder, they cut complexity. These are the resistor zones at the top. With follow through, we have adapt. They drive flexibility. With quick start, they have stabilize. They mitigate risk. Implementer, we have envision, which they visualize concepts. So at the top, we're preventing problems, right? This is where we're naturally resisting other people's ideas and energy and, directions. In the middle is our bridge. This is where we adapt, we accommodate opportunities. So with Fact Finder, we have explain. They edit details. This is the Cliffs Notes person. With follow through, we have maintain. They sustain plans and modify them, accordingly. With quick start, we have modify. They facilitate change. And then in implementer, we have restore. They repair objects. On the bottom, this is our initiating energy. This is where we start to problem solve. And you can have, I think, 16 different combinations of problem solving when it comes to how you initiate action. So with initiating action, in Fact Finder, we have people who specify. These are people who research facts in depth. With follow through, we have people who systematize. These are people who create systems and structure. With Quick Start, we have people who innovate. They brainstorm big ideas. With Implementer, we have people who demonstrate. They build real, tangible solutions. So right now I'm going to ask you to kind of take a pen and paper if you can, or remember which one you are so that you can kind of get deeper insight into your zone of genius. Everyone has a natural way of taking action, not just in business or creativity, but in everyday life. And it's about how we solve problems, how we plan, how we adapt, resist pressure. This is not about personality. This is about instincts. So this quick self-assessment is going to uncover our zones of genius. It's our instinctive rhythms and how we naturally lead, decide, and move through the world when we're free to be ourselves. So the first pillar, the fact-finding pillar, how we gather and share information. I'm going to ask you a few questions and I want you to take this assessment. You're going to answer A, B, or C. Wait until I'm done reading the whole thing before you answer. What is most likely to go through your mind when you're starting something new you know little about? Are you A, the analyst? I need to know everything first. You crave clarity. You research, fact check, and make informed decisions. Think the strategist, the researcher, the spreadsheet whisperer. You're likely to say, look, let me look into that. I'll read the fine print. I want to make an informed decision. Are you the curator? Give me the gist and I'll make it work. You gather just enough information to move forward and simplify information. Think the editor, the communicator, the systems thinker. You're likely to say, what's the key takeaway? And I'll figure out the rest. Or are you the bottom liner? What's the point? You skip the fluff, you focus on the essence and on action, not deep dives. Think the summarizer, the headline grabber, the big picture doer, likely to say, just give me the bottom line. I don't need the details. So if you answered A, the analyst, you research in depth. You establish specific priorities, you build on experience, and you develop complex strategies. If you answered B, the curator, you highlight what's important, you edit the details, review the data, fact check written material, and work within the priorities. If you answered C, the bottom liner, you focus on the bottom line, you distill information, you see the big picture, you minimize investigation, and you simplify the data. And when we're looking at this, not just for ourselves, but when we are in relationship with others, when we are speaking to somebody who's a bottom liner and we may be the analyst, we could get off put when we're trying to give them all of the information because we get so excited about sharing all the information. And this person's eyes are rolling back in their head and they are like, get to the fucking point. I don't care. I trust you. When we can understand that that other person is the bottom liner, we can start with the point and say, I have so much more information if you're interested. Many times they're not. If the bottom liner is working with an analyst, they need to understand that that person needs to describe things in detail, right? And the curator bridges that gap. It says, okay, I have enough information to move forward. I can synthesize this so that it's deep enough for understanding, but it's not too deep into the weeds. And when you understand your zone of genius here, you can really position yourself to say, you know what, I'm really good at focusing on the bottom line. And I can position myself to be that person in my environment that sees the big picture, that, kind of grabs people out of analysis paralysis, right? And that's just an example. The next action mode, follow through. How we organize and plan. So we have a lot going on. What feels most natural to you? Are you A, the architect? Let me build the system. You love structure, plan, step-by-step clarity. Think the planner, the operations director, the checklist master, likely to say, let's map this out. I need a clear plan. Are you the optimizer? Let's tweak what's already working. You adjust systems as needed, improvising and refining them. Think the fixer, the process editor, the practical adapter. You're likely to say, let's just adjust this. We can improve this flow. Are you the flow seeker? Don't box me in. You resist rigid structure. You create through improvisation. Think the idea hopper, the creative disruptor, likely to say, I'll figure it out as I go. Let's keep it open. If you answered A, you're the architect. You create the plans, you organize info and materials, you bring focus and closure, and you provide systems. If you answered B, the optimizer, you sustain systems, you adjust procedures, identify inconsistencies, maintain order, and adjust schedules and programs. If you answered C, you're the flow seeker. You vary the approach, you're flexible, you create shortcuts, and you loosen rigid processes. One tip I always give people if you are the flow seeker is that you're not designed to create the process. You are here to simplify it. So if you are somebody who is the flow seeker trying to create a process, you're going to overly complicate the process. I don't know how and why it works, but it happens. And so if you can, remember to delegate things that need maybe a more detailed process, and then you can go through and cut the fluff. If you're the architect, know that not everyone wants to fill every single box. And it's about what is absolutely necessary for us to complete this task, to move forward. And I'm looking at it more in a career sense, right? Like if you are somebody who created the systems, the processes, the SOPs, things like that, and you want to micromanage people to make sure that they do it, oftentimes you get really frustrated because this is the problem between, I come from a world of marketing, is that marketers tend to be B or A, and salespeople tend to be C. And in order for us to do our jobs, it was like, well, we needed you to put everything into the system. You're not actually following the process, right? And the salespeople want to cut complexity, and it's like they don't want to spend time checking the boxes and doing the process and doing the things. And it can create a lot of friction. And so if we can understand what we all need and how to work better together and to create systems that will allow that flow seeker to operate within it and give you the information that you need, that's the beauty of understanding conation. All right, so this is the third pillar. This is how we approach risk and uncertainty. This is our quick start energy. What is your gut reaction in unpredictable or pressured situations? Are you A, the maverick? Let's go, I'll figure it out. You thrive on spontaneity and new challenges. Think the pioneer, the risk taker, the bold starter. You're likely to say, I don't need a plan, I love the thrill. Are you the explorer? Let's try it, but smart. You test before committing and explore carefully. Think the tester, the cautious innovator, the strategist. You're likely to say, let's ease into it. We'll try and adjust it. Are you the stabilizer? Why change what works? You prefer stability and predictability. Think the anchor, the grounded realist. You're likely to say, let's stick with what we know. There's no need to rush. So if you answered A, you're the maverick. You experiment and initiate change. Create a sense of urgency, brainstorm possibilities and ideas, and you are driven by deadlines. If you're the explorer, you adjust to change, you sustain innovations, and you check things out before trying them. And if you answered C, you're the stabilizer. You minimize risk factors and chaos, control the options, reduce the unexpected, stick with what's working, and protect the status quo. In the last organization that I was in, most of leadership fell into the maverick category, highly innovative, no shortage of ideas. And our creative director was the stabilizer. And they looked at it as if she was kind of not on board with innovation. But that's not her gift. Her gift is really to say, we don't need to break everything. Let's keep what's working. We don't need to disrupt all the time, right? And if we could see each other for our gifts and understand that the Mavericks are, we have no shortage of ideas. I live in the Maverick zone, and this is my initiating energy. And I could brainstorm all day, right? And so it's really important to understand that the person who is the stabilizer isn't just saying poo poo on my idea. It's saying, I want to protect what's working here. And let's do this in a smart way so that we're not completely disrupting the whole organization. If you're the explorer, you're that bridge. You can sit in the brainstorm meetings and you can say, these are really good ideas. Let's take this to the next step, right? You're not going to take every single idea and run with it. So it's a really good thing to understand where you fall in this risk and uncertainty, because this can also cause a lot of friction in relationships, in careers, in organizations. And so understanding what your gifts and strengths are and how to position yourself again based on your instincts is a good thing. The fourth pillar, or the fourth, not pillar, the fourth action mode is implementer, how you relate to physical tools and space. So when you're dealing with something physical, a tool, an object, or a layout, what feels most natural to you? Are you A, the mechanic? Let me build it, fix it, touch it. You think with your hands and prefer hands-on interactions. You may even prefer in-person work. You could use your hands all day, every day. Think the builder, the expert craftsman, the embodied learner. You're likely to say, let me try it. I'll figure it out by doing it. Are you the tinkerer? I use my hands, but I can also envision. You work well with your hands when you need, but your strengths bridge the physical doing with the mental imagining. Think the hobbyist, the creative bridge. You're likely to say, I like to experiment. I build when it feels useful. These are kind of the people who love gardening and working on their car on the weekend. Or you see the visionary. I don't need to touch it. I see it. You operate in ideas, patterns, and visualization. Think the designer, the conceptual innovator. You're likely to say, I see how it works and I don't need to build it to understand it. I also don't need to see it to understand it. So if you're A, the maverick, you demonstrate physically. You build handcrafted, tangible solutions. You maximize the use of 3D space and use 3D solutions. You insist on quality. People who are the mechanics won't even build it if they don't have quality materials. Are you B, the tinkerer? You repair mechanical devices. You handle tangibles. You bridge the gap between the physical and the virtual. Or you C, the visionary? You imagine solutions. You describe without having to demonstrate. You deal with work that is abstract, intangible, and you simulate situations. I hope that this podcast was helpful for you to understand your zone of genius and to be able to start positioning yourself within your natural gifts and strengths. The next episode, we're going to go through human design, our energetics, the 5 types, and the different strategies that make up our energetic profile. The RIC will combine your conation and energetics and give you your rapid profile. And I think it's important to understand the basics of what is going on within the RIC system. When we're looking at conation, I have 81 different archetypes. And so you can be a whole mix of different zones and modes. And it's really important to understand how all that energy works together, right? Not just where you initiate change, like we just talked about, but where do you resist change, or where are you adapting? And how does that actually play out within your natural gifts and strengths, your human nature? So I want to invite you to the next episode. Please comment, which one are you? Where do you initiate action? Did you find it helpful? What do you want to learn more about? I have a whole series of YouTube videos that I'm creating, and so I would love your participation, your engagement, your subscriptions, and I will see you on the next episode.